My main sin was to try to start a very elementary conversation about whether systemic racism even exists. So let me say that in my experience, racial issues are driving this. And what is driving racial issues on campus is something that's very difficult to talk about. And I always hesitate to broach the topic, but it is driving virtually everything, I think, in Western societies today, which is the academic skills gap, the behavior skills gap, and the folly in universities and other institutions of racial preferences. Here's the situation in at least American campuses today, John. There's not a single selective American college that does not practice massive racial preferences, meaning that each campus, in order to achieve what it views as a necessary complement of Black students, is admitting Black students with objective academic qualifications that are at least a standard deviation below that of their white and Asian peers. In the United States, there are very large academic skills gap. The average Black 8th grader reads at the level of the average white 8th grader. I'm sorry, average Black 12th grader. That is a 18-year-old Black student reads at the level of a 13 or 14-year-old white student. Those gaps never close. 54% of Black 8th graders, that is 13-year-old Black students, do not even possess partial mastery of math skills expected for that age cohort. So what goes on in a college campus is you're bringing, and at Google and at high-tech law firms, at banks, at institutions, is these preening elites so desperate to look out with noblesse oblige upon their diverse student body or workforce, put Blacks at a massive competitive disadvantage. If I were admitted to MIT, the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, our premier STEM high-tech school, with a gender quota, because MIT decides it needs to have more females engineers, and it admitted me with math scores that were a standard deviation below those of my peers, my male peers who had been admitted on merit rather than on the triviality of gonads, I would have a very hard time keeping up. In my freshman year calculus course, in my first year calculus course, I would struggle to keep up. I may drop out, certainly of a science track, if not out of the school entirely. And I would face two options. I could blame my problems on the fact that I was admitted with greatly lower academic qualifications as my peers, or I could say that I was a victim of rape culture. And I was surrounded at every turn by misogynists who wanted to keep females down, notwithstanding the fact that the only reason I'm there is because they're so desperate to admit females. The same goes for Black students. They are encouraged to, they experience huge academic difficulties. They're encouraged to think of themselves as victims of circumambient racism, even though the reason that they are at any given college catapulted above their academic preparation is because the school is so desperate to have them there. This problem of the academic skills gap and the behavior gap, I might say, which is what I addressed in War on Cops, I think is driving a huge amount of elite bad ideas and bad thinking today.